The last sandwich video went pretty well, so I'm gonna make another one. This video, I'm going to be making a Jambon-Buerre. I don't know how you pronounce it, but this video is for Lexi, since she asked. So I'm making bread, but unfortunately, my mother threw away my sourdough starter, so I'm making more. So I need half a cup of flour. This isn't very precise, it doesn't have to be. And then we're gonna get a quarter cup of warm water. So not hot, but warm. That's warm. You can trust me and turn it off, not waste water. Put this guy in here. And then, finally, well, not finally, but almost finally, you get this. Hi, cat. And we stir until it forms a paste. I'm now done mixing that. As you can see, I'd add a ton more water. So now what I'm gonna do is get out press and seal, and I am going to cover it, and I'm gonna let it sit overnight, and I'll come back tomorrow. Well, I lied, it's not tomorrow, but I wanted to make 2 points. First of all, I covered it in a towel because, well, there's snow outside, and my house has a heater, but you know, just in case, I wanted to stay warmer, especially at night. And secondly, I am making the bread for this, and I'm also probably gonna make the butter, depending on how lazy I am. But I'm not gonna make the ham because I don't want to. So sorry to disappoint you. So I must confess that it's been like 3 days since I last filmed, but this process is going to be the same that I've been doing. And it will basically be the same process that I do for the rest of the week, but I thought I'd show you one day, just so you could see what I'm doing. So basically, as you can see, it's not super active. There's a couple of bubbles. It smells sour. Yeah, you can see that. There's a few bubbles. It's kind of bubbly. It's not crazy yet, but I don't think it's gonna be so for a while. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a scale, cat moment, and I'm measuring 60 grams of sourdough starter that I'm moving. So I'm measuring 60 grams. So I'm tearing this so that it's 0. Taking 60 grams of this, approximately, it doesn't have to be perfect. And putting it in here. So as you can see, I did about 60 grams. It's slightly more, but that's okay. So I'm gonna tear this again. And we're gonna do 60 more grams, but this time of the whole wheat flour, which is about half a cup. I'll go ahead and call it good enough. So now I'm gonna take some warm water, not hot, but warm, and do 60 grams of water. All right. And so now what we're gonna do is just mix this, stir this all together, discard that. This will go in the compost, so it won't go to waste. We'll stir that, put it back under the towel, and come back tomorrow at about the same time, and do the same thing, and I'll just continue to do that for about a week, and it should be ready. I must confess, it's been quite a while since the last clip that you saw, and as you can see, my house is a mess because I literally just got back and I have to unpack stuff. But this is what we're working with. This is attempt 2 actually, the sourdough starter. Attempt 1 kind of failed, it got moldy. I'm not entirely sure why, but I've been a lot more careful about making sure that I wash my hands before I mess with it. But that should be good tomorrow, so we're gonna make bread tomorrow. Okay, now is time for the not fun part. Homemade butter. So as you can see, I have organic whipping cream. I mainly bought this because it was cheaper, but regardless, I'm going to dump 2 cups of this organic whipping cream, whatever that means, into this bowl. Actually, low-key can drink this stuff as is. And then what we're going to do is take this immersion blender, because I don't have a hand whisk at this house, and I am going to mix it for about 10 minutes until the butter fat separates. As a slight update, we're probably about a minute or so into making this, and as you can see, we have whipped cream, basically. It's about the consistency of whipped cream. So for the sake of time and my wrists, I switched to a hand blender, and as you can see, there's liquid and then there's butter fat that has begun to separate. So now what I'm going to do is throw this through this strainer, like so. That's the buttermilk right there, and there we go. That's butter. So now what I'm going to do is just sort of press this to try and get some more of this buttermilk out, and we will put it in an ice bath also. I'll show that in a bit. But our goal basically is now to get as much of this buttermilk out as humanly possible, because that is what goes rancid. The fat will last a long time, but the buttermilk will not. And it is complete. It's honestly not a ton of butter, but it tastes pretty good. Now I went ahead and added some salt to it. It tastes really good. Today I actually make the bread, so I'm gonna add 100 grams of sourdough starter to the bowl. Now I'm gonna add 250 grams approximately of water to the starter, and then I will mix it. The rest of this starter I'll just feed again and put it in the fridge. Now that they're incorporated together, I'm gonna add about 450 grams of bread flour, and then incorporate it slowly and make a dough. Now it has come together into a dough. It's a little dry. We will be adding more water later, but for now what I'm going to do is just cover it and then let it rest for about an hour, and then I'll be back. It is sat for about an hour, so now I'm going to add this salt water. It's 15 grams of salt and 30 grams of water, and then mix it in, and then I'll put it in another bowl. Now I've transferred it to this bowl, which I put a little bit of olive oil in, just so it doesn't stick. So now what I'm going to do is called a stretch and fold. So I'm going to pull up each side and just push it into the center. Then rotate it and do that, and then I'll do that a few times every 45 minutes or so, and go from there. I stretched and folded the dough about 3 times, so now I'm going to divide it up into a few sections, probably about 3, and then I'm going to roll them out into baguette shapes. I put them into my makeshift proofing basket, so now I'm gonna cover them and let them rise for probably 3 or 4 hours. I know I'm supposed to do it overnight, but I wanna eat them tonight. As you will see, these are a little bit sad, and there's only 2 of them instead of 3 like I said I was going to. I don't think that makeshift proofing basket worked very well, so I saved 2 so that if these don't turn out well in the oven, I can try it again. But currently, I have the oven preheating to 480, and I have a thing of water in the bottom that's just gonna steam the oven a little bit, and that should help make the bread a little bit more crusty. So the next step is to put this in the oven for about 30 minutes. 15 minutes through, I'll lower the temperature, and then I'll pull it out and we'll see how it turns out. I just went ahead and pulled them out of the oven. They're not perfect. They're kind of sad, to be honest. They rose a little bit. This one's probably a little better. They aren't amazing, but they'll work. So I'm gonna call it good. You will now see that the bread is done. The crumb isn't the best, to be honest. It's pretty dense, but this was my first time making sourdough in quite a while. So I think it turned out okay. For the sandwich purposes, it'll be fine. So what I'm gonna do now is use some of my homemade butter. Quite a bit of it, because this sandwich kind of prides itself on butter use. And then I'm going to spread that out. Now that it's spread out, it is time for the very, very final step. I'm going to load it up with ham. And as you can see, I did not make homemade ham. Maybe I'll remake this video in the future with a tripod and with bread that turns out a little bit better. And I can make my own ham in that video. All right, we're loaded up. So there we go.